Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts,
Morgan
and Bailey. Welcome to our book club episode.
Woohoo! Bonus
book club.
We loved this one. Pumpkin Spice Cafe. We really should have pumpkin spice lattes with us as what's filling our cups. I didn't even think of that, but
man, we could lie.
Oh yeah, today I'm drinking a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
what's filling up my cup, not water.
Me either. Not water and ice. That's not me. Pumpkin spice latte. That's actually so funny. Yesterday I went to Target and they have a fall/Halloween collection right now.
Of course.
And they had these adorable little, they were in the shape of a pumpkin. They were glasses that were good for punch or something. They were short. They were in the shape of a pumpkin, and I literally said to Mason, I should get these for me and Morgan. And I don't know why I didn't, because I didn't even think about this.
I can't believe you didn't just get them for you. You love a glass.
I know. I can't believe it either. They were plastic.
Oh, okay.
They were plastic,
That's
but they looked like
probably
a
why.
glass, but I totally would have got them anyway. So pretend we're drinking them out of our little pumpkin glasses.
Little pumpkin spice latte in my pumpkin glass.
Yes. But yes, this month, book club choice was Pumpkin Spice Cafe
By Lori Gilmore.
Lori Gilmore, and it was so good and cute.
It was really cute. I feel like the vibe in our actual physical book club was that people liked it for what it was, really liked it for what it was, thought it was the fall vibe, or really just hated it.
There was definitely no one there saying wow, this was one of the best books I've read.
Changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a good book, I wouldn't say, but it was a happy book.
Yeah.
And a cheerful book. I felt like the book did what it needed to do for me.
Yeah, and we talked a bit in book club about how when it comes to reading books, you kind of have to have the right expectations, and it kind of has to fall in the right lineup for you too. We talk about that a lot because sometimes you might have read a lot of romance recently, and if you read another romance book, which Pumpkin Spice Cafe was, if you read another romance book, you're automatically kind of comparing it to all the previous ones that you just read. And so if it's better or worse, you'll kind of rank it that way. Versus if you've read historical fiction and thrillers and fantasy most recently, you're probably not going to judge it against those as much as you might the other books that if you were reading romance.
Definitely.
So that's one thing. And then also just the expectation of knowing that, I mean, I could tell from the cover.
Oh, exactly what was going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like once you've read a lot of one type of book, which I've read a lot of romance and smut and silly, kind of surface level type of books.
Yes.
Once you have read lots of those, I feel like you can look at the cover and I looked at the cover and I was like, oh, well, this is probably not going to be a very super deep book.
Right.
There's probably going to be this thing that happens. These two characters, they're not going to be able to be together for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Go through the whole arc. And that's probably what it's going to be. And I was like, I'm cool with that.
Right. It did what it needed to do. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I do feel like this book I do feel like it had a lot of really good storylines. It just didn't expand on any of them. And I do think that had it expanded, had it gone more into a real dramatic kind of effect instead of more just oh man, my boss died at his desk. If it had really gone into it instead of just be I have to get away from here. I really feel like the book could have been really, really good. Yeah. And I do think that the rates that were lower in our book club were pretty much only because they were I just wish I had more. Yeah. And I was definitely could have used more
elaboration.
Substance and elaboration. But I literally thought it was perfect. And it got me out of my reading slump. Yeah. Which I think was the best thing that could have happened.
That's good. So you've been reading since then?
Yes, been reading since then. So obviously finished Pumpkin Spice Cafe earlier this week, I think, and then finished another book, and then I'm already starting on my new book. Nice. And I've got my whole October book club, or not book club, I've got all of my October books lined out for me. Okay. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I felt like it just put me in the fall mood, too. Even though, I don't know, some of the criticisms were that the setting wasn't that fall-y. They didn't actually talk that much about the fall, autumn atmosphere.
and the
Yeah, stuff like
leaves.
that.
Yeah.
But I did feel like because it was set up so Gilmore Girl-esque, which was intentional,
Yes.
it gave me fall vibes innately because of that.
Yes. Just because you could picture it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt very Stars Hollow to me. The setup and just the
town meetings.
the townspeople, yeah, the little connections and rivalries that they had.
Yeah.
And I kind of loved that they had little quarrels between people.
Oh, me
That
too.
felt so Gilmore Girls to me.
Yes.
Like I was like, there's always like, oh, the baker and the pub owner, yeah, they're in another feud or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's so cute to me. And
Yeah, it was.
felt in it of itself, that is not a fall vibe, but it is because of Stars Hollow, I think, is why I felt that way.
Yes, I completely agree. I do think at the beginning of the book, it did set up the space for you. Like, it talked about how they were gourds. They just kept talking about the gourds instead of pumpkins. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's call them pumpkins. But they did talk about, like, those being set up and that, like, I guess that's really it. They would have like their farmers markets that were supposed to be.
They
like,
were
the
serving
fall festivals.
apple cider.
Yeah. Yep. Apple
And they
cider.
did talk about pumpkin spice lattes a couple times.
Yes. Very cute. They were always wearing their cardigans and their flannels.
Yeah.
So you knew it was breezy.
Yeah, the sexy farmer always had flannel on.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Speaking of the sexy farmer, I have not read a good smut book in so long. And I would even say that this one wasn't like smutty or anything like that. It was like a little bit spicy, but I guess I just haven't read a good spicy book in a little while.
Okay.
So I was really, really excited for this one because I was
Yay!
like, I kind of need some spice because I read a lot of thriller. And the last spicy book I tried to read was awful and couldn't get into any of it. And
What was it?
I've talked to you about it a couple times. It was the not Every Summer After, but
The other Carly Fortune
yes,
one?
the other Carly Fortune.
I don't know
one.
what it's called either. Yeah,
It's something.
but,
It's
okay.
like maybe this summer or something like
Okay,
that.
gotcha.
Something like that. But he was like an oyster shucker, and I was like, I just can't get down with being like, oh, when he's shucking those oysters, I was watching his fingers because I'm like, huh?
That's so funny. Have you
Yeah.
heard of Hook, Line, and Sinker?
Yes, I have.
Tessa Bailey. Have you read it?
No.
Okay, I love that one, and it's so funny because when I talk to people about it, I'm like, yeah, he's like a fisherman, and they're like, what? How is that sexy? And I'm
You're like,
like,
he stinks.
I'm like, you had to be there. I mean, honestly, I don't think it matters for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Their
I do
their
have to be able
occupation.
to. I have to be able to like be into the character.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, then I'm like, it's kind of gross to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And this guy was like a little bit more like
oh yeah,
Jess, or like, and not even Jess, like, I mean,
he's
not
like
really.
Luke. He's like a
I
cute
guess like
Luke.
Luke, except that I'm not attracted to Luke at all.
No, me
But,
either. He was like a younger Luke.
Yeah.
Because they weren't supposed
Luke
to be
in
like
his prime.
Yeah, Luke in his prime. Which sometimes I do see Luke and I'm like, aw. Not with his hat off.
Yeah,
Never.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But sometimes he's got it. But no, I could really appreciate this book for that.
Yeah.
Like it was I loved that they did not already know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do feel like a lot of the romance books I pick up, they knew each other as kids or they like their moms knew each other growing up. I don't know, something like that. So I did like that a lot. And then I liked that they would have cutie little like makeout sessions and cute little like, oh, we're grabbing each other in the alley kind of thing
Yeah.
before they went for the full, shebang.
Yeah.
And then those scenes I loved too. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. I love that. I told Jared, I was like page 3, and I was like, I closed the book and I said, I know everything that's going to happen in this book, and I don't care at all. I'm so excited for it. I was like, I'm so looking forward to it. I just felt like it was just going to be such an easy book. But I did tell him when we were on one of our walks and I was talking about it, and he's like, "So you know everything that's going to happen, huh?" And I was like, "Yes." And I laid it out for him like this, and I was like, "Okay, so there's 2 characters. For whatever reason, the male protagonist is kind of emotionally unavailable. For some reason, the female protagonist is like seems temporary, or there's something about like why she can't be in a
Settle
relationship
down.
right now."
Yeah.
And like something that she's kind of like running away from, whatever. And then you have all this tension between the two because there's this natural attraction and they're trying so hard to resist it. So about halfway through the book, they will have had multiple times leading up to that point where they like almost give in, or they like give in to just like a kiss or something like that.
Yeah.
But then they have to like pull away and they're like, no, we can't. And for whatever
Yep.
reason, they just can't be together. And then usually like about halfway to like 2/3 of the way through the book, they finally go all the way.
Yep,
Like
finally get together.
they get past like the little makeouts or like accidental kisses or whatever. And they finally like have sex. And then
But key point to whenever they're having sex, one of them is thinking about how it's not gonna last.
Oh,
and
no.
one of them's like,
I
"Oh,
love you. Yeah.
Yep.
While they're having sex, one of them is one or both of them is thinking about how much they love the other person,
Yep.
but how
After
much
2 days.
but how much they're nervous that they can't be together.
Yeah.
And then right after they have sex, usually there's some climactic moment, conflict that happens, and the conflict makes them feel like for whatever reason they can't be together again, and then they feel even worse because they just had sex and they're like, I don't even know how to like, they can't like discern the two or whatever. And then but pretty quickly after that, that's why usually it's like 2/3 of the way through the book,
Yeah.
right after the conflict, somehow they resolve things and things are better than ever, and they understand each other, and all's well that ends well, and
Yeah.
they are like happily ever
Happily
after.
ever after.
Usually in the epilogue, they have like kids in a farm or something like that,
Yeah.
like 2 years later.
Or it's like their engagement.
Yeah, this one didn't have that, and
Yeah, which I really like.
yeah, I kind of liked that the epilogue was them moving her into her own apartment, because at first I totally thought like, oh my gosh, they're just gonna move her straight into his farm.
Yeah, because he had mentioned that a couple times. He's
Yes.
like, oh, I would just love for her to live with me. And it's like, okay, Luke, slow down. Slow down, Luke.
Did you mean to say Luke?
Logan!
I was just curious. I was like, is she like playing on it or like?
No, totally not.
Okay, yeah,
Logan.
Yeah, because it was Logan and then Jeannie,
Yes.
not Janine, which somebody in our group thought it was.
Yep.
But yeah, slow down, Logan. But yeah, so I did like that because it was from his point of view, the epilogue was, and he was like, as much as I really do like love the idea of her moving in someday, like I want to give her her own space and stuff first.
Yeah.
I was like, that's good.
It is good.
Because you guys have known each other about less than a month.
Yeah, I really like that. And I like that it still gave Jeannie a chance to be like her own character.
Yeah.
Instead of them kind of having to become a one almost,
Yeah.
because that can happen in those books. So no, I love that as an epilogue. I actually, on the way to book club, I was telling you like, my Kindle said I actually had 20 minutes left, so I haven't fully finished.
yeah.
I was like, but I've gotten to the end. Like, I know what's happening. And then you told me about the epilogue, and I was like, wait, I missed a really good epilogue. So I still haven't gone back and read it, but I probably will today. Just be
yeah.
like, the last chapter. And you
that's
just
pretty
go and
much
read.
all you need to know. Anyway,
Yeah.
So.
No, but it's a cute epilogue. And I
Yeah.
feel like I actually haven't seen that done very often in books. They always end up completely together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got kids, pregnant, got a dog together or something like that. I don't know.
Yes.
Which she does have a cat. That was so funny.
That was
so I love how the setup for them, like, oh God, being so tempted and discovering their natural attraction to each other was them having a stakeout to figure out what the ghost was doing, and it was just a cat.
Yes, that was funny. But
Very Stars Hollow.
Oh, so Stars Hollow. But are we supposed to think that it was the cat the whole time in the beginning and then Norman took over? Or, you know what I mean? Or, like, was it Norman the whole time and they just happened to open the door and the cat was there?
Well, so when the cat was doing that, the coffee shop wasn't open. So
yeah, it was
I
still closed.
feel like Norman started doing stuff when they opened the coffee shop.
Yeah, he did.
And it was to make Jeannie feel like, oh, this is too hard to run a coffee shop or run a cafe.
So it was just convenient for
Yeah.
Norman that she already thought she had a ghost.
Yeah, which I keep thinking it was just a coffee shop because of pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
But it actually was like a full-on cafe. Like they served food.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. And didn't she just live right upstairs?
Yes.
Wasn't that the thing? That was
Very
fun.
Luke Steinery.
Very, very. I did think that whenever they were having like the whole mysterious, is it a ghost? Like, what's making all these noises? Who's breaking my window? Things like that. And really, it could have only been like 3 people. And I was like, okay, I feel like, yes, it's obviously Norman, but that almost feels too obvious. And I was like, I don't think that it's the other 2 employees. So I really was like, are they going to add in like a ghost aspect or something like that? And I thought that would be great. Like,
that'd be funny.
you know, like, or even if it was I don't know, like someone in the obviously if Dot had been dead, I would have been like, oh yeah, it's definitely Dot's ghost, like wanting to connect with her.
Funny.
But that was another thing. I was really glad that they did not make Dot dead.
Yeah.
I was really glad about that because that always happens in those books where, you know.
She wasn't dead. She was just pretty much retired.
Yeah, just retired, and I loved that. I don't know if you heard other Morgan Kurtz at book club talking about how in the rest of the series that she hopes Dot makes a cameo, is what she said.
Aw, that'd be cute.
Dot and Norman just make a cameo, and I was like, oh my god, I would love that.
Do you think you'll read the second one, Cinnamon Bun something?
Yes.
Do you think you'll read it?
I think I will.
I think I will too.
Yeah.
And then the third one is coming out at Strawberry something or other.
Yeah, Strawberry something farm.
And I think it's like the Christmas one.
Yeah, I definitely think I will read them.
I think I will too. I think that, yeah, it was just an easy one. I'll probably, like I said at the beginning, the way that you space out your books makes a difference too. Mm-hmm. I probably won't read it next to other romances.
No.
I'll probably read it after like a harder book, like a more thought-provoking book.
Yes. Morgan Kurtz called it a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
And I was like, it totally was a palate cleanser.
Yeah, Morgan had a lot of really good thoughts in book club.
Yeah, she did.
I felt like everything she said, I was like, same.
Yes.
Same. Which is just the best thing about book club. But but yeah, I thought it was just a really easy, a lot of people called it like a smooth brain read or something like that.
Yes, especially coming off our last book, which if you haven't listened to that episode, it was Recursion.
Yeah.
Was a book club book, and that was like about time travel and really intense. You had so many storylines to follow. It was depressing as if. And then you have this.
It was not a brain break.
No.
This was a brain break.
Yes, I loved that. I actually think that maybe is why I felt like it helped me get out of my reading slump, is because while reading this one, I was like, okay, I'm really liking this story. However, I do feel like I want more.
Yeah.
And so then I went and started reading a book that had been on my shelf forever that I knew was an intense book. And it was like honestly kind of a scary book. And so it was perfect whenever I felt like I needed some light. I would just go back to Pumpkin Spice Cafe. When I needed some dark and some more like intense and real like story, thought-provoking, I'd go back to my other book.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
I don't ever have like two fiction books going at one time. I know that you do pretty often.
do a lot.
You say that you like daytime books and evening books and stuff. And I do have, in the morning I read like personal development books or whatever.
Yeah.
Right now I'm reading Build the Life You Want. It's like an Oprah and some other author or whatever. So I do read nonfiction. Like I always have a nonfiction going and a fiction going.
Yeah.
But I can't read multiple fiction at once. I don't know what it is. It just like feels too chaotic to me.
Yeah. I think that works for me.
Yeah. But I feel like that would be good for me if I am reading a thriller, because I can't read thrillers too close to bed or else I'll be scared.
Yes, that's the exact reason. Or if I'm like, if I just got off the thriller book and I'm like, oh my God, like that was so much. Sometimes I can actually get like super into the book and I feel like my emotions are like heightened because of it. So then sometimes I'll read the like less scary books as like a calm down.
Yeah, you like wind down.
Yes, it's like how I don't know if other people do this or if it's just me. Other people have to do this. But when I was little and I used to watch a scary movie, afterwards I would have to watch like an episode of SpongeBob or something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you do that?
I didn't as a kid, but yeah. Honestly, I didn't watch a lot of scary stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
But
I had to watch it with Lily. She would always make me watch it with her.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I didn't watch a lot of scary stuff as a kid. It wasn't until I was an adult and married to Jared that I started testing my boundaries a bit.
Yeah.
And started watching a little bit more scary stuff. And like we were talking about this the other day, The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a freaky. It's always the psychological stuff that freaks me out. Or
me too.
Or
that's
like
the stuff that can happen.
Yeah, or like Dark Matter, what we were talking about, the same author that wrote Recursion.
Yeah.
Or Black Mirror type things. Stuff like that really was like creepy to me. I always will want to end with like a Friends episode or an episode of The Office or just something light and fun and easy. Yes. And
that's exactly what I do with my books.
That makes total sense.
Right?
Maybe I should try that next time I have a thriller, because I will stop reading it earlier on, but I don't like to do screens right before bed. So if I could just switch to something that's a little bit lighter and not going to give me bad dreams.
Yeah. And you do have to make sure the books are totally different, so that way you don't get all like hooked up or like confused.
Yeah.
I did that with one of our book club's books the Everyone on This Train is a Suspect.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this one's so cheerful and happy and like goofy. And so I had another book going at the same time that was called The Fury. And I hadn't even started it yet, but I was like, okay, like this is gonna be my book for more serious. And I started it, and it was the exact same plot line, the exact same
wow.
premise.
That's funny.
Yep, it was like who done it kind of thing, and I was like, I cannot read this.
I would be getting them mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped after the first chapter. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to read that one later.
Yeah. The thing I liked with this book was I thought the characters were really fun. They were definitely the one lane characters where they didn't have like a lot of complexity to them. They kind of stayed in their lane. There was the bakery owner, and there was, you know what I mean, and the best friend, and the, you know, farmer and stuff, and the mayor, and they all had their qualities, and they were very simple. And sometimes that bothers me in a book, but in a book like this, it makes sense. It's appropriate.
Yeah, it's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in a book like Recursion, those types of characters would not have worked.
No, not at all.
But in this type of book, it worked super well. I thought it was so cute. Not everybody agreed with that, I think.
Yeah.
I think some people wanted more depth, but again, going into it, I was like, I'm expecting this to be a very lighthearted romance, probably going to be like a couple spicy scenes, and it's going to be pretty surface level, you know.
Completely. Yeah. I will say our more avid romance readers definitely had this one ranked lower.
Yeah.
Whereas like the people who
I thought so too.
And those are the people who like really only read romance and then branch out for our book club. But like you've read a lot of romance, but you also read a lot of other things. And I think that's what helped like your rating a little bit for this book, was because you weren't, I mean, like you said, expectations and stuff like that, they were pretty low. Yeah. Whereas the people who are reading romance books like avidly, they were like, this book sucked. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Yeah. So I thought that was funny.
I gave this book, like when I got done with it, because I think I read it in 2 days. Yeah. And being easy to read is something that I feel like some people, when they rate books, they're rating it a lot on like its literary quality. That's not necessarily how I rate books. Never. I rate books on how I felt about them. Yeah. And this book, I felt like it was super easy to read, and sometimes that also means not the best literary quality. You know what I mean? Yes. So I feel like for me, it was easy to read. It was fun. It got me in the fall mood.
It was so goofy.
Yeah. And so, like, when I finished it, I was like, wow, that was cute, fun, what I wanted it to be. Yeah. And I felt like it was around, like, a 4-ish. But then, like, I was also thinking about it, and I was like, but, I mean, as a book, it really is not probably a 4. It's probably closer to a 3. Yeah. So I ended, like, somewhere around a 3.5, I think. Yeah. Is how I rated it. And I think the average book rating was kind of like a 3 in the group.
I think so. I would definitely say it was a 3. I know I gave it a 3. And it's funny for me because I feel like everyone rates books so differently, which I love. And it's something that makes me so excited of like, it's your mind, it's your book, it's however you want to view it and rate it. But a huge part of what like ratings are for me, and I did not realize this until last book club and then with this book, but it's like the bingeability factor is a huge one for me, or the like, did I want to continue reading this? Did I think about this when I wasn't reading it? Yeah. And so I think that when I finished this book, I really enjoyed it. I was like, wow, like it made me smile, it made me happy. I wasn't expecting amazing literary writing, like you said. Yeah. But that was fine with me. It was super easy to read. But the only reason that it didn't get higher for me is because I did not find myself thinking about it when I wasn't reading it. Yeah. I didn't find myself, like, really just moved by it or anything. So for me, I was like, it was a fine read. Yeah. It was fine. Like, didn't do anything for me, but I liked it. I really did. And I think that like, some people with 3s, it means that it was just okay, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll probably never think about it again. But for me, I'm like, no, I really liked it. I probably will think about it. I will recommend it, but it's a 3.
Yeah, I also just think that it is so smart to do a book to write books like this. Yeah. That are tailored to the season, because no matter what, people are going to read it. Even if it's not, like, a good book by any means, I feel like people are going to read it because it's so trendy.
Yeah, and people want the vibes.
Totally, yeah. And it delivered. I think like it did deliver exactly what it promised.
Yes.
It didn't promise that much, I don't think. Like,
No.
so I think that I totally get what you're saying. And I do think, I felt like I was thinking about it a little bit when I wasn't reading it, but I could have stopped reading it and nothing would have happened. Like,
Right.
You know, but I didn't want to stop reading it. I didn't want to, like, when it was done, I wasn't like, oh, I'm so sad that's over. But
Right.
but I also I wasn't like, gosh, I can't, this needs to be over already. You know, which some books are like that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of books
I
like
just
that.
need to get through this book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this book was good because it didn't have any like slow spots or anything. It was just
Yeah, it was one thing to the
easily-
next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing to the next. It really reminded me. A lot of people said like it was like a Hallmark movie, and
Yeah.
it definitely reminded me of a Hallmark movie, but almost if it was like a Hallmark short film.
Okay,
I was like, I feel like this would be like a 30-minute film.
Yeah.
and not an hour and a half.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah.
Right.
Something I really liked, I said this the other day, but was that the grandma could not cook. I thought that was so cute because I feel like, again, the characters were very simple, but some of the tropes that I expected, like grandma is always a very good cook and
Yes.
whatever. Like, I thought that was so funny that was part of her character, that they decided to kind of go the opposite direction of the stereotype. I feel like typically you just think of grandmas as being like, oh, they've got all the old recipes and they do everything from scratch.
Yes.
And their home
They're so homey.
their home cooking's the best. And it's like, no, they'd rather have cup of noodles.
Yeah, that was funny of Logan being like, "Oh no, we're gonna have to go eat her food," and like,
Yeah.
I did think that was really funny.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. Let's see, I also liked The Mayor. Have you ever watched Hocus Pocus 2?
I did watch it.
Oh my god, you need to watch it again.
I can't remember it very well.
I seriously think it's one of the funniest movies I've ever watched. You
Okay.
need to watch it again because the mayor in this reminds me of the mayor in Hocus Pocus 2.
Okay.
And I really want you to go watch it now and
That's
then
funny.
we'll crack up at it and
I'll
then
have
get back
to.
to me and
Yeah,
let
I'll
me know
have
if you
to.
can see it.
Okay, that's funny.
It's so funny. But yeah, liked this book. Oh, my last thing I was going to say was I had been seeing this book for a really long time because of TikTok and
Yeah.
because of Pinterest and things. And I had read the description and was like, I'm going to hate this book. I'm not going to like spend my time reading this book. So I was actually really glad whenever book club chose it because I was like, okay, so I have to read this book, which is good.
It's
But
not one you would have picked up otherwise.
Yeah, not one I would have picked up otherwise. And I probably would have been mad had I read this like in my own free time almost. It's because I would have been like, man, like I don't really want to be reading.
Yeah.
Because I just haven't been in the mood. And I'm reading this dumbass book. And like, but now, because it was for book club, I was like, I loved it.
That's one of the best things about book club is you pick up things that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Well, honestly, I feel like we've covered the whole book. Like,
Short book?
It's a pretty short book. It's a pretty simple book.
Yes.
Sweet and to the point.
Yep, I completely agree. Next month is a book club choice from our good friend Brittany.
Yes.
She's in charge this month, and she chose, I think it's called,
I don't even remember.
it's like the
what type of book it-
Undoing,
I put it in our group chat. The Unmaking of June Farrow,
the Unmaking of June Farrow.
which I've never heard of.
Me
Have you?
either. No, I had never heard of it, but it is rated a 4.16 on Goodreads, which
Oh,
is
heck
very
yeah.
good. It's
Okay.
a great rating. And
That's
I
cool.
think it's supposed to be kind of like historical while also being fantasy romance.
Yeah,
think
the
it's kind of what
genres
I've
on
gotten.
Google says mystery, fantasy fiction, romance. So that's fun.
I know. I'm actually quite excited for
We
it.
really haven't done fantasy in book club.
The only one is Divine Rivals, which is like borderline.
I call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
When people talking about expectations again, when people told me that, oh, we're reading a fantasy book for book club, and then we read Divine Rivals, I rated that book lower than I expected to because I thought it was fantasy, and if I had never been told it was fantasy, I probably would have liked it better. But the whole time I was like, where's the magic? Where's
oh,
the
yeah.
where
All
are
I had
the-
was like the Underlord.
all
She was just like the goddess. I don't know.
the Underlord?
Is that not the same thing?
I don't know. The Divine Rivals was when they had like the magic closet or
Yeah.
typewriter thing.
Yeah.
And that was cute.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's not really fantasy. And then they had like gods that they spoke about every once in a while, but we never met the gods or anything like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's just who they were fighting the war for.
Yeah.
Have you read the sequel of that one yet?
No, but
Okay.
I've heard that people like it, so I would be willing to read it. I just haven't. But
Yeah, same.
yeah. Anyway, so
Well, I do hope that this one does have a good fantasy feel about it because I haven't read a fantasy in so long.
oh yeah,
Oh,
I've been needing one. So.
Yeah, you have been asking for one.
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't gonna be. It's not gonna be Court of Thorn and Roses fantasy.
No, it's not. I've been looking at some others, so we'll see. But Witch Collector was supposed to be up that alley, and it didn't do it for me. So
Ugh.
I've got some others with my eye on them, but honestly, maybe I'll just have to be rereading this
Yeah.
winter. I don't know. We'll see.
Gotta get it done.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to have the genre, and it's like if
Uh-huh.
you can't find it, it sucks.
Yeah, it's just like rewatching Friends all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing better.
Nothing better. Yes.
Alrighty, well that wraps up Pumpkin Spice Cafe.
There you go.
Until next time.
Until next time. Cheers.